Hi, good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening. If this is your first time, welcome to my channel, your channel, or channel, Women Healing Together. And as you know, on Women Healing Together, we talk about all things women. And also on the channel, every first and third Wednesday, we have the talk show called Talk Truth. And Talk Truth is your safe space and your safe place where we tackle the issue of childhood sexual abuse and help women who are on the road of healing and recovery. And this is season 2. This is brought to you by, of course, Women Healing Together and the LAX Society. I'm your host, Hobson Francis. Can you believe it? We are at the penultimate episode of season 2. Only one more episode to go, and we are complete with season 2. And you have been just awesome. For all those who shared the link on their status, on their social media platforms, for all those who came on and participated and asked your question, for all those who messaged me or called to say it has been impacting my life. Thank you, and thank you. Don't forget to subscribe to Women Healing Together, hit the notification bell, right, and share. We're going to be delving into it today as we address the very important topic, finding God in trauma. Is that even possible? Finding God in trauma. With us this evening, as we bring her on, is Pastor Latoya Wright, and I'm going to be telling you some things about her. Hi.
Hello, my friend and sister. How are
Lovely.
you, beautiful?
I'm well, beautiful. I'm well. And just something interesting with Latoya and I, her first name is Latoya and my middle name is
Yes,
Latoya. So
yes,
we're
I
both
remember.
Latoya. Thank you so much for coming. I am going to be sharing with our WHT family or Women Healing Together family just a little bit about you so they understand your background. Why is it that we have asked you to share in the community to impact our lives? Because you have been there, done that, and you're on the same journey of healing with us. So, a little bit about Lady Latoya Wright. So, she has qualification, she has experience in abuse, mental health. She's also a family advocate, right? Her areas of specialization, again, anything relating to abuse, domestic violence, and even criminal justice. So we have a little bit of the legal framework there. And she has had over 25 years of experience in the field. Don't allow her looks to fool you, all right? Good? Don't allow her looks to fool you. Absolutely wonderful soul. We're going to be talking towards the end about her initiative. But I just want to mention off the bat that you recently published your book, and I would love for you to just talk to us about that before we go any further.
Okay, thank you. I know, yeah, don't let the looks fool you. I am 45 years old. I just had a birthday a couple of weeks ago. So God is good.
You
God
are
is
looking
good.
beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, so I am. As we talk about trauma, there are certain giftings that hopefully we'll be able to touch on some of the fruit, some of the gifts that God has given us to shine light in darkness, and to help us to come out. And as we heal others, we continue to be healed ourselves. And I think that being an artist, being a writer, is one of those things he put in me from weaving me in my mother's womb. That gift is, it's almost like a secret weapon against what life was going to throw at me. And I didn't know that that was going to be one of my greatest tools, plus my armor, in combating the crime of abuse. And so I always wrote. I always wrote poetry. I have a ton of poetry. There's one I want to share tonight also. And songs, and I used to sing a lot, and I would write devotionals, and I have about 10 or 12 books that I've written, and I just never published them because writing them for me was getting things out.
Mhm.
And as I would write them, some pages still have the tear stains on them. There's some that I started writing and I couldn't finish because it was so hard. But I just wrote and wrote and wrote. And I have some friends of mine who found out about my writings, and were quite upset with me that I had not shared it with the world. And I said, those are very deeply personal reflections. These are very deeply personal and shameful. That's what I thought at that point. Shameful stories that are for me and not for anybody else. And they kept saying, but you should share it because you're not the only one going through it. And maybe something you say in there might resonate with someone. Maybe they'll find hope. And I think I was still in the midst of my rabbit hole of depression and and deep pain, deep shame, deep pain. And I didn't have the mental strength nor capacity to invite anyone into a space with me where I couldn't brace them up, because at any moment I felt like I was going to break too. So hopefully I'm using language that our viewers will understand. Sometimes you could only breathe yourself. I could only wake up in the morning. And sometimes don't ask me to brush my teeth or to bathe. The fact that I got up out of the bed, if I did get out of the bed, is enough for me for today. We are at that point where we're so broken down emotionally, spiritually, and mentally that we can't do anything else. So the writing for me was to give me a sense of, you're not crazy. This is what you're going through. And some of the writings were God speaking to me. Oh gosh, I cried.
That's okay.
A lot of the writing was, and the songs were him singing to me
Mhm.
and talking to me, and I needed to write it down to see that it was real. Things that he would say, how much he loved me, that he was with me, and that I was valued and all of that. And I used to say, like, I think I'm going crazy, so I'm going to write it down. And I cherished that, and I was very selfish with it because it was mine.
Mhm.
It was Jesus saying to me that I'm okay in his hands. So I wasn't going to share that with anybody. Again, I didn't know the beauty of sharing your story. Because the enemy plays tricks on us. You already think you're losing your mind. So I had an experience where I have a spinal condition. I didn't know I was born with it. But it was 2007, my back gave out on me and I was crippled for a couple of months. And so I ended up having to have major back surgery. And there's a miracle around that too. But I had been journaling that experience when I realized I was losing my speech. I lost my speech. The disc was cutting my nerves, the nerves in the lower back, and so my arm was shrinking, and I started losing my speech. I would start to speak and then start to babble. I was losing my faculties, and when we went into the surgery, the doctor had said to me, your chances are so slim to walk again and to talk again, and they're even slimmer that you'll even make it out of the surgery. But we had people praying from day one. I mean, hundreds and hundreds. There were prayer groups all around the world that my name was in, and I had to go into a nursing home to live. That was part of the rehabilitation plan. If I survived, and if I was able to walk again or talk again. And during all of that time, the miracle around that. So I'm not supposed to be talking to you like this. I still have a little bit of residual. If I'm very tired or stressed out, my speech will get slurred still. But it's still a miracle. And of course, I wear my high heels. Okay, you know that. But I still suffer with my in my neck from that, they could not go in. It was just too complicated. So I still suffered daily in pain. But I remember the prayer sequence with God and myself, in how He spoke to me. Um, Before the incident, during the incident, and how my faith had to be so strong in Him alone that even my doctor was like, I'm Jewish and I don't know what you're talking about, this God. And I kept saying to my doctor, you're not the one doing the surgery. You're not the one doing the surgery, and I will come out of it, and I will be in heels again, and I will speak, and I will do all of that. And he was like, okay. And for him to, he had said to me, he would not do the surgery unless my mind was in the right place. Because he said half of the success of a surgery is in the attitude of the patient. We hear that with cancer patients and all of that. Your mindset makes a difference. And so my mind had grown to be really strong in trusting God that He would make it through. So to shorten it, I came out of the surgery. It was another miracle. I wasn't in a nursing home for long. So I did live in a nursing home. And so now, how many years later, this is 2007, we enter into the pandemic. And one of my mentors called me up and said, people are suffering. People are suffering and people are losing loved ones. And you are very acute with your knowledge of grief and the power of prayer rescuing you. Why don't you take your transcripts and put it in a book? And I said, okay, and he's like, it's about time. Everybody needs you to. And it was such a miraculous thing that by the time I took all of the writings and put it in the book and sent it to the publisher, I don't think it was 6 weeks between the phone call and the book being published. And so the book is called I Will Rescue You. I think you could see it here. It's called I Will Rescue You. And it's literally the lessons I learned about the power of prayer and God rescue. And I talk a little bit about the surgery, but I also talk about my journey in learning to trust God when I didn't trust Him because of my trauma.
And just right there,
Yes.
right there, if you permit me, I hear you talking about trusting in God. I hear you talking about, and Dorothy Keith says,
Yeah.
praying for
She's
you.
one of my mamas. Yeah.
And it said so beautiful, Toy. I see your people. I see your people.
Yeah.
And Saclane has that little puppy face.
Oh.
Oh God, I can't believe Tanisha is saying WHD family and all the hearts and all of that. I hear you. And there's so many persons there, women like ourselves who have experienced trauma. They may be saying, but Latoya is not like me. She doesn't understand what I'm going through, because I'm hearing her talk about how she trusts God, and Jesus speaks to her, and she's chronicling, and she's writing a book, and all of that. Help us understand what trauma looked like for you.
So what you're hearing from me right now is a journey that I am still on. Okay. Me writing a book was not some glorious thing. These are pages of trauma. These are pages of distrust. You will read and hear me fussing and arguing with God and telling Him that He's not there, and giving up on Him, and realizing that I had forsaken being His child, because my back situation did come from the effects of trauma. Everything that I have experienced, all of the pitfalls have come from, just the attacks of the enemy, and the attacks come in different ways. For me, it's so funny that this past 2 days, my sister circle and I learned that we had to get down to the bottom of what we are most fearful of with God. And that's how He begins to give us peace and come out of it. And I recognize that part of my issue is that I am traumatized from abandonment. I'm traumatized from sexual abuse. I'm traumatized from being displaced from my home. And so having this security stripped from me from multiple places is they call it units, units of trauma or units of grief. So the sexual abuse that came from someone who said they loved me, or a family member, not immediate family member, but in the islands, everybody's auntie and uncle, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
if it's
Mhm.
a family friend, you call them uncle such and such and auntie such and
Yes.
such. But learning not to trust was so early in my life,
Mhm.
so young, between the ages of 8 going on. I It was stripped, and so already my mind had started to be rewired, which is what
Mhm.
trauma does.
Yes.
It rewires your mind so that you are always in a constant state of fear. You're always in a constant state of distrust. You're always in a constant state of being overprotective, right?
Mhm.
You're so defensive. You're always looking behind your back. You're never at peace. You're never settled, because at any moment you waited for something else to happen. That's what
Yes.
trauma does to you. Trauma leaves you in a state of anxiety. Trauma tells you that it's better for you to kill yourself so that you can have peace from your thoughts and your memories and the people who may be still alive in your house, than for you to go through that, because we lose the capacity to carry. Our cup gets too full. And if anybody tries to walk with a teacup that's full with hot tea,
Mhm.
any little
Mhm.
bump,
Yes.
it's spilling over. And if it spills on you, it burns you. That's what trauma does. And so, to prevent us from being hurt, we numb ourselves. We numb ourselves with various things. And so you could put yourself in that category and know that whatever it is that you're doing to forget the pain is a numbing mechanism. And we all do that. For me, it was sex.
Mhm.
I can be real, right? Papa
Oh,
and Alicia,
talk,
because
talk truth. Talk truth.
you
Keep
know,
it real.
yeah,
Yes.
because as I'm a Christian, I'm a pastor, but I'm a woman first. I'm
Mhm.
somebody's daughter first. I'm somebody's
Mhm.
mother first.
Mhm.
And so before we add all of these titles and mantles, I am human. And I had to recognize that if I did not learn my creator and how he designed my body and my mind to work, I would be a mad woman,
Yes.
because I would not know where things are coming from. And
Mhm.
and initially that's how it was. When my body hit teenage years and hormones kicked in, and the natural sequence of what our body is supposed to do, we grow
Yes.
breasts and all of
And
that.
then
We
and
get
add trauma, add sexual trauma to that.
I was already activated from before
Yes.
10 years old.
Yes.
That man touching me in my genitals woke up the things that were supposed to be woken up naturally and gradually as I matured. So
Mhm.
imagine it being woken up already. It
Mhm.
feels good.
Yes.
Not all trauma feels bad. It feels good because it wasn't that kind of violence. It was violent, but I call it the sweet violence, right? He
Mm.
woke up things and he was stripping from me, but he wasn't rough. So it didn't feel bad. So my body is like, well, I know he's not supposed to be doing that because, he's uncle such and such, but it doesn't feel bad. The confusion already started. That confusion where, as women and men too, you don't know the difference between good touch and bad touch in that sense.
Yes.
You know something is off, but it doesn't. And that's how comes a lot of us keep running back to that same place, and we
Mhm.
call it dysfunction, and we say the person has lost their mind. No, we haven't, because
Yeah.
touch is supposed to feel good, and our body is supposed to respond to things that feel good. So
Mhm.
even though we're the sense is like, this doesn't make any sense, we don't have the education, the tools, or the skills to stop it. We've lost our voice because normally the person in that dominant role has silenced us. If we tell somebody and they tell us you're lying or you're a nasty girl, or this person has this place in the village unit that
Mhm.
their voice takes more weight than yours, there's silent. I call it silence of the lambs, because the lambs are the
Mhm.
innocent ones. So you have a silence of the lambs, and we are taught from day one that our voice doesn't matter.
Yes.
However, our bodies never stop speaking.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, how do we speak? We may
Yes.
not speak with our voice, but we will speak with our promiscuity. We will speak with the decisions of who we date. You know what I mean? We will speak by drinking. We will speak by wilding out. That's why I get so frustrated when I see churches deal with young girls in such a harsh way if they get pregnant at a young age, or if you always call them loose, and
Yeah.
that's not the case. Can somebody ask a question? Can someone pull them in, because we've all experienced something? Can someone pull them in and say, okay, I could identify some of what you're doing because here's my story.
Mm.
Let me give you a
Wow.
mirror. Maybe you could see yourself in me and open up to me and be a safe haven instead of gossiping about them. And if they get pregnant, we kick them out. You know what I mean? So we
Encourage them
don't
to get
ask the
married.
questions. Exactly. So
Yeah.
trauma messes us up, and it gives us the ability to create a Hollywood fiction character so that we can survive day to day. All it is us trying to breathe from one day to the next.
And let me just say this. I'm listening to you, and I have to be sipping a lot of water
I
because you
see the
are.
tea. I should get some.
I'm telling you, it's water. It's like this is too hot. I can't have tea. So it's a teacup, but it's water. Because before I even say that, Tanisha says that's the point right there, the confusion that happens.
Yeah.
And she says most people will behave like you can turn on or
You
turn
cannot.
off arbitrarily. That is why
Yeah.
we do this, Latoya.
Yeah.
That is why we have women healing together. That is why we have Talk Truth, and that's why you are here,
Yeah.
because the dynamics, the interconnectivity, the dynamism of trauma, and specifically we address sexual trauma on Talk Truth. It's so much more than people actually think.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
Let
I,
me let
mhm.
me let
Go
me let
ahead.
me just let me empty out my soul here for somebody who may need someone to say what they are experiencing and they don't have the words to articulate it. Um, I don't have shame with my story anymore. There is not an ounce. Can nobody
High
make me feel
five.
ashamed of my story?
Yes.
Can nobody make me feel that I'm less than? Because I know now the root of it. And so I have learned that when I embrace my story as a phase in my life and not who I am able to stand before men, women, children, no matter, and say, this is what happened to me.
Yes.
This is the period of my life, but that is not who I am, because none of that changed the fact that I am a queen of the Most High
Mhm.
God. None of that
Yes.
has changed the fact that my Father is the King of the universe.
Yes.
It is a matter of a period of my life, and He never took that crown off of my head. So now that I'm out of it, and I'm still healing from it, because therapy is my best friend.
Mhm.
I have a therapist, and that is the best day of my week. To help me, I'm still rewriting. Okay,
Yes.
when I was at the peak of my body wiling out, wanting, I call it the dragon, the sex dragon. I did not know how to calm this thing that was awakened in me. And
Mhm.
so, as an early teen, Popsan, I had sex with, it didn't matter who it was,
Mhm.
because I needed to calm it down. So what I did, and this is I want you ladies to listen to me, okay? You're not crazy. We learn to separate ourselves from the activity. We learn how to take our mind and send it to the furthest depths of the sea, actually to a safe space. I would take my mind and put it on a beach in St. Lucia, while this man who I didn't know, most of the times I met them at a gym because I was an athlete. I didn't know who they were. They even if they looked cute, it didn't matter. And I put myself in danger by
Mhm.
just going anywhere with them and letting them do their thing. I should be dead. I should have been in a missing persons list. I should be in a tub somewhere drowned. I should have been pregnant. I should have AIDS. I shoulda, but by the grace of God. But
Mhm.
but but what I did in order for the dragon to get a little bit tamed was I learned how to separate my physical man from my emotional and spiritual person, and
Mm.
said that that is what trauma does. We learn how to separate so that we can bear it. When
Yeah.
women get raped, you would see like their gaze is somewhere else. Even though their body just kind of goes limp, they're separating themselves from the event. That is what we do. And unfortunately, if you don't get the help and support, when the spirit man and the emotional man come back and connect, and you forcefully feel the effect of what's happening to you, this is where your body just goes nuts. You feel like you're going crazy. You feel like you want to commit suicide. And what we do is find something else to numb what
Yeah.
we are reconnected with.
Mhm.
So it is something that we all go through. I just want your listeners and your viewers to know that they're not alone. They're not crazy. It happens to all of us who have experienced it. It is what we do to try to survive until we can get the help. But help is always with us. Do you understand what I
Mhm.
mean? Like,
Mhm.
God's grace is there. And so I remember always saying, God, I don't want to be doing this because that's not who I am, but I cannot stop. Can you
Mhm.
help me to stop? I can't stop. This is not who I am, but I cannot stop. And his love and his mercy and his grace and his understanding has made me be able to be free from those chains of guilt. So I know it wasn't me.
Mm.
I know it wasn't me. It was the
Mhm.
bruised Latoya that was
Yeah.
doing all of that stuff.
Yes. Oh, oh my word. I love your realness. No wonder you're Latoya. Amazing. Remember, if you're here with us on the live, type your questions, send in your comments. I'm sure you realize that Latoya is very authentic. And that's why I didn't just put Latoya Wright. I put pastor
Oh,
because there's so yes, there's so many persons who believe that, oh, if you are religious, then you have had it easy.
oh
There's
God.
no trauma. And I think it's because so many of us as Christians, we are afraid to share our story, but our story is really our glory. It's what make us who
Yeah.
we are. And if you are watching the recording, drop a comment below. I hear you, sister, and my heart is resonating.
Yeah.
And here is a question that we have for you this evening. As you're going through all this trauma, you spoke about abandonment, misplacement, sexual trauma, all of it. Were you ever angry with God? Because we hear you talking about love for God now and all of that. What was that interaction like with you and God before you reached the place where I trust you, you're my daddy? Walk with us through that stage.
I was pissed at him.
Mhm.
I'll be honest with you.
Mhm.
I I I It was because I had made a deal with him when I was younger. I wanted to get baptized. So my mom thought I was too young. So I kind of went off in a tangent, and I made a deal with him and I said, hey, I want to get baptized. So here's the deal. If you allow her to have me get baptized, my life is yours. Do whatever you want to do with me. Because, as kids, we think it's fluff.
Yeah.
This walk with Jesus is so sweet. And I remember making that deal with him and expecting the greatest of life. And the sexual abuse happened right after that, within a month or so. And
Mhm.
then my family split right after that. My mom came up here with my sister, and I was with my grandmother on the island, and just like, what's going on,
Yeah.
and then I was taken from the island right after that. And never to see home again. We were up here undocumented. I was undocumented for like 23 years, from
Wow.
like 14. This year is the fifth year that I've had my green card. So
Wow.
from early teen unto 5 years ago, I was an illegal alien.
Mhm.
And I had not seen my home, my friends, none of that. And so for me, it was like, really, God? You gonna play me like that? This is what you're
Mhm.
gonna do with me? I made a pact with you. You're supposed to be the ever loving father taking care of your children, and you literally have my family in some strange country, and we're living in one room, and we're going through all of that, and my mom is going through this, and I can't go back to school, and we're here, we're running, you kind of hiding, you don't want to get deported. My life was over.
Wow.
And it was because I thought I was blaming it on him, because I said, had I not made that deal with you, Had I not made that deal with you, I would have been okay. So a very, very long time, I would be really honest with you and tell you that I knew in the back of my head that he was with me because I was escaping so much danger with these men.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that he was with us because we were still eating, we still had a roof over our head, you know, the basic stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as far as him having a personal and intimate relationship with me and having control of my life, I didn't trust him. And I did
Mm-hmm.
not.
Yeah.
I cry. I used to cry and cry. I was a praise and worship leader, and I would sing and do solos and stuff. And I would be singing songs, and people are crying and they're worshiping God, and I'm looking at them like, all right, I'm just singing, but I don't feel a thing
Yeah.
because all this lovey-dovey stuff you're doing, I don't feel it. I was numb, and I used to be crying while singing, and people used to think it was the Holy Ghost. People used to think like she's so caught up
I'm
in the
so
spirit,
touched.
but I was hurting.
Ah.
I was in pain. My tears were painful. I was in pain. I was in a marriage that I went into to stop having sex outside of marriage, and it ended up being another mess. I wasn't happy. I was suicidal. I had a cloak on Sabbath. I was Miss America. I looked good on Sabbath. My family was beautiful. I was putting on a show every single week, and people were buying into it. I sold them Jesus, and I wasn't part of that company. No. So when it came to a lot of things about my life, I personally was living a split life. I was living a double life. I know I needed him because I knew he was the one sustaining us, but I refused to give him any more of me because when I gave him all of me, this is what happened. And I used to say to him, we speak French, but in the patois because I'm honorary Jamaican, right? So I used to
I
say,
love.
"Hi, what's a go on? What's a go on? Like, what are you doing? Like, people won't trust you. If I have to tell them what has happened because I gave my life to you, they will not trust you. So what are you doing? This is not okay. Somehow you have to tell me that you are here and you're in this because right now the enemy is winning.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is what happens to people when they give their life to you, I don't want it.
Mm.
But at the same time, I know you're creator God and you're the one sustaining me. So I'm in a relationship with him that I don't want to be in, but I know I have to be in there with him in order for me not to get worse than I am. Do you understand the confusion?
Whoa.
It,
If I
it,
understand,
it was driving me
I do.
crazy. So what I used to do was just drink so I could fall asleep and not have thoughts. Because the thoughts in my mind with him was like, I want to cuss you out right now, but I'm afraid to cuss you out because you're God, right?
Yeah.
So let me go do it in a different way. So I would do a lot of self-sabotaging, a lot of self-abuse, a lot of wicked things to myself because if I attack myself, then at least I'm passing it on to something because I really want to pass it on to God, but I can't because he's God and I still have some kind of respect for him. But it was the most they call split personality experiences that I've had. So writing helped me to put things into place where I was like David. I would be saying, God, you're so great and you're so amazing, and then I'll go back to, but you're so this and you're so that,
What have you
and you're so this
forsaken
and you're
me?
so, da, 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 da. And so as I'm crying through it, I'm like, but you are wonderful, but the pain is real. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. Where's the balm in Gilead?
Yes.
Where is
Yeah.
it? You said you were chastised for me.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the stripes? You said
Yeah.
where's your peace? You said you would exchange it. Where is it? Where is it?
Mm-hmm.
And I would keep calling him, and every Easter weekend I would be like, you died for me, so why am I still dead?
Mm.
So
Whoa.
resurrection happened. Why am I still in a tomb? Why do I feel like dry bones? And these were the conversations I started having with him, and not realizing that he really was close to me. He literally was carrying me
Even
through,
before,
and
I'm sorry,
I
I'm sorry,
literally, oh, I was,
I'm sorry.
okay,
Even before, I'm so sorry, even
that's
before
okay.
you reach to the point where you address the question of how do you find him in trauma? What was your experience like? And then using your pastoral insight. All right, we want to get there.
Okay. Well, you know what? He was always there. I never lost him.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you that now in the beauty of my relationship with him.
Yeah.
He was closer to me. It's like a child. I'm a parent, so I can use my mother, my parenting. You know, when my daughter is sick and she's in the hospital, she may be checked out because she's in a lot of pain, and she may not, if she's looking straight or up, she won't see me. Why? Because I'm in the bed with her under me. I mean, on top of me. You understand what I mean? I am under
Mm-hmm.
her, bracing her. So unless she spin her head around, she won't see me. She has to trust my touch. She has to trust the fact that she's not fully breaking. She has to trust the fact that there is something that is there's a warmth on her, and that comes with learning the sensitivity of the Holy Spirit. That comes with
Wow.
knowing the different
Mhm.
ways that the Holy Spirit is there for us. He is a comforter. He dries our tears. There's so many manifestations of him because that's his job and that's his role. He's supposed to make sure that we have that buffer. So when we can't see because we're looking everywhere and we're blinded by our pain, we have to know that if we are really really sensitive to him, and that comes honestly, that comes by, there's a thing called a trust fall.
Mm-hmm.
It's where the person stands behind you and you just fall,
Yes. Yes.
right? You just
Even
fall.
before, just a minute, Latoya, we're going to be getting into the trust fall and how you find God. But just for a moment, let us just focus on this. On this, you're talking to our sisters out there,
Yeah.
or sisters who have experienced trauma. What do you say to her? Because you said, I God is sovereign. I couldn't curse him as I wanted to, so I self-harm. What do you say to a sister who's like, I curse him? I curse him and I blame him.
Well,
And she feels, oh,
yeah.
there's no salvation, life is over. I curse God. What do you say to her?
Well, okay, let me backtrack. I did cuss him. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't. I am
Because
not
I
that.
said, like, was I am I even more unholy than I thought? Because I cursed him.
Listen, I am not as super cool as I may look. Okay. I know curse words and I use them.
Hmm.
I used them very well with him. Um, he. It's okay. One thing that I learned, it's okay to talk to him like that, right? I think old school preachers might say, no, it's not, but God is a parent too, right?
Hmm.
And one of the best gifts a parent gives is the safety for their children to share their mind and their heart
Yes.
with, and letting them know, I'm not going to kick you out the house, and you're not going to not be my child
Yes.
because you tell me how you really feel. That's what a good parent does. It
That's a
allows
treasure right there. Talk to you, treasure. That's correct.
it allows the safety of home to remain, so that you can fall, you can break, you can express your deepest hurts, knowing that you are still going to be a member of that family. So
Yes.
for me, I told God how I felt. I
Hmm.
did cuss him. I told you guys I drank. So when you're
Hmm.
drunk, you say whatever comes to your mind, okay?
Yeah.
So in my drunken state and in my sane state, I cussed him out. I
Hmm.
cussed him out and did the self harm. So, like I said, I was a mad woman. Okay, I was a
Hmm.
mad woman. I know without a shadow of a doubt, even today, that unless I go to God with the real deal,
Mm.
He's gonna be like, "When you're ready to really talk to me, come."
Yes.
Okay, we cannot go to God with fluff. So if you are in your deepest pain, saying to him exactly how you feel, believe me, that is the best conversation that you can have with him. That is what he wants. He says, come to me, those who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And that means come to me with your honesty and with your truth. Don't come with a mask. Don't come with the foo-foo fluff, great Jehovah. Don't come with that. Come straight up and say, Jesus, where the heck were you?
Mm-hmm.
And how the heck could you have allowed that to happen?
Yes.
You are hypocritical because your
Mm-hmm.
word says such and such and such. And if you really truly loved me, you would not allow my father to rape me. You would not allow
Yeah.
my boyfriend to do that to me. Where are you? You can
Yeah.
ask God that question because there's nothing that we can say to him that's going to make him stop loving us. But he wants us to come with our honesty, the root of the matter, so that we can give him an opportunity to let him show us that he is there and that
Mm.
there is a bigger plan for our lives, and to show us how it should have been worse
Mm.
were it not for him. So if we don't know how to talk to him honestly in the
Mm.
deep, dark sides, that we cannot train our hearts and minds to have authentic conversations and relationship with him. Right?
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
like a sisterhood. If I am really fake with my sister and I cannot really tell her the deep stuff that's going on with me, that's not a true sisterhood. Period.
Yeah.
And so that's how I translate that with him. But I'll
Mhm.
just be really honest with you. It took me years to know that he did not mind
Mhm.
me cussing him and being honest with it. I felt guilty about that because I felt I was disrespectful. It
Mhm.
took me years of knowing that he really wanted me to get it out,
Yes.
with him, instead of going to the enemy,
Yes.
instead of going to the bottle, instead of going to drugs, instead
Mhm.
of going to men. He
Mhm.
wanted me to come to him with my body and my brokenness and tell him all of that stuff. So you can talk to God about anything.
I always so absolutely powerful. I Carrie put up wow, and there's another comment that she said I love her. She is real. Yes, this is what you get. It's talk truth. We speak the truth and we're real with our experiences because persons need it. She also said people share out the live, more person need to hear.
Oh,
Oh, she's telling others to
yes,
share, right?
yes.
Giovanni says, good night, WHT, Giovanni. Good night, WHT family. Interesting and real to life testimony. Keep it going. Keep it sharing. Oh my God, Latoya.
Yeah.
Tanisha says, that's the misconception that many of us develop from early. God only allows. Listen, oh, all right. Janelle says, I agree. Nobody is perfect. Oh, the comments are coming in. Tanisha says, God allows only good things. The misconception is that God allows only good things. Okay, that comment went off. Can we get that back by the one previously? All right, and we'll just wait for that. Yes, thank you. God allows only good things to happen. And if anything negative happens, then he does not care.
Can I speak to
Absolutely.
Tanisha on that?
Of
Can I
course. Go
share
ahead.
on
Go
that?
ahead.
Okay, so if this is the beautiful. I'm so glad, Tanisha. Thank you for saying that because I think that is really the heart of the matter that a lot of people have in their minds about God, and a lot of it is honestly not our fault. It is what Christianity has done to set us up with a false picture of God.
Yes.
And we learned that from our parents, who learned it from their parents, who learned it from their church and congregation. And unfortunately, the pulpit and family worship and home worship has sent these negative pictures of God, um, instilling that in our Christianity. So when things happen, because we are been told that God is one way, he's up there and he's this angry God, and all he wants to do is just throw doom and fire and brimstone. We don't know that we can run to him. We
Mhm.
were not given a beautiful picture of God with arms outstretched all the time, wanting to just hold us and hug us like a bear. We were
Yeah.
not given that picture of God. And so the confusion is that when our parents didn't do it with us either. That
Yes.
kind of that kind of strict home we're grown in.
Mhm.
So the fact that in the human aspect we didn't grow up with comfort, We were told not to cry. If we showed any emotion, we were weak. We were told to woman up. Black women,
Mhm.
especially, are
Mhm.
supposed to be strong. We can't feel, we can't do anything because our shoulders are supposed to carry the whole world, right? So we don't grow up with those kinds of comfort and grounding. And so when we need it, we don't know that God is there to give it to us. And so the
Mhm.
confusion is that if we go to him with it, he's going to be upset at us because whatever we did, we call it upon ourselves, because if we were really close to him and if we really had the Holy Ghost, we wouldn't have done that. That's what we're taught,
Mhm.
right? But this picture of God as someone who is saying, he has given everyone the freedom of choice, right? And sin being in the world is part of the consequence of, we're experiencing the consequences of it. And so we people choose whether to make wise choices or poor choices. That has nothing to do with God, meaning he cannot control us like that. We're not
Mhm.
robots. We
Yes.
are not robots. And don't you think it pains him when his children hurt his children? And he
Yes.
cannot control them like that, because if he controls them like that, then he's removing the very thing that makes him God, giving us the freedom of choice. And so,
Mhm.
because of sin, his children are deciding to do things
To
that
hurt.
are out of his control. However, because he is God, he has set up the mechanism and he has set up the safety net for us, that he is there.
Mm.
One guarantee, he is
Mhm.
there, meaning he's there when we make good choices and he's there when we make bad choices, and he's there to help with the consequences of it if we give it to him. So the father who rapes his daughter, right? God gave him a choice to protect his daughter or to harm her. That's the power of choice. He
Mhm.
chooses not to do that, but God is still there to make sure that this child has that safety net if she understands. You understand what I'm saying? So it's
Mhm.
also with the rehabilitation of, you see, murderers and stuff like that, where there is restorative justice. If they turn from their ways, there is mercy and grace for them. It is
Mhm.
part of the whole dynamics of sin. So we cannot say God allowed that to happen and he didn't allow that to happen and he was there and so forth and so forth. It's not about the allowing, it is the freedom of choice. However, he is a God that restores. And that's what I
Mm.
want you guys to know. He can
Mm.
restore you as if it never happened,
Mm.
because he's a
Mm.
miracle God. He can
Lovely.
restore you to the point where you will see the scar and never feel the pain again, right?
Mm.
He can
Yes.
restore you like he restored me, that I will come out of it more powerful than when I started.
Yes.
He can
Yes.
give us that, he can give us the redemption, that we are so strong and powerful that we can help save lives if we
Mm.
give it to him, knowing that that is the gift of his presence, and that is the gift of forgiveness, and that is the gift that we can give to ourselves if we put him in his rightful place as
Yes.
sovereign, as the balm, and as the one who can take our ashes and restore us back to the beauty of being a vessel fit for service, where we can water people with our experiences and we can bring people to him so that they can be healed and restored also.
Lovely. Thank you so very much. Look, as we are closing off this evening, the big question is, Tanisha says, praise God, come now, let us reason together.
Yeah,
He wants us to
yeah.
talk to him and to trust him. From what you have been sharing, I get that one of the first steps in finding God in trauma is being authentic with him. If that means you're angry, if it means you're sad, if it means you're depressed, if it means you're in rage, just talking to him. That's the first thing I got. What else? How else can we find God in trauma?
Okay, so I would say that maybe number two. Number one for me is realizing or recognizing when someone shares with you that Jesus knows exactly what you're going through. When he says, I have been touched with everything that you've gone through, it was confusing for me for a long time when I would say, Well, how does he say he understand and he's touched when he wasn't sexually abused? He wasn't raped. He didn't have divorce. I'm a divorcee. He didn't suffer from spousal abuse. You know what I mean? Like, so it was hard for me to connect with him and go to him on that. The thing is, like, if we don't trust someone and know that someone understands our story, we will not tell them. That's human relations, right? So the same with God. If we don't think he gets it because he's God or he's a man, right? What am I going to him about that? I can't go tell him about my breast hurt or whatever. I what am I doing that? He don't get it. So it was hard for me because I did not have understanding. When I looked at the cross and I really understood the cross and got the clearer picture, not the European whitewash Jesus on the cross. When I saw the Jesus on the cross naked before people with his genitals out. That's how he was crucified, with his genitals out, and recognizing that it is the same exposure that I have with people knowing my story, with this man touching me and in places where it's not supposed to be seen, when I am exposed, when people talk about me, and the shame I feel when people, it's like I'm in the closet, right? And they just expose my bones for the world. That's shameful. That's literally taking all of my clothes off and putting me before the world high up. When I look at him being high up in front of men and women and children, naked and beat and mocked and told that he's not who he is, and ostracized and bullied, I'm saying, my God, this is exactly what I'm going through. When I learned that he called the children of Israel his wife, and then they kept whoring and doing all this stuff, and he kept coming back to them, and then he said to them, I'm gonna have to give you a bill of divorce, and then he marries the Gentiles. I realized God is a divorcee. Hold on. And he got remarried. Wait a minute. He understands the grief that comes with the loss of a relationship. He understands failed relationships. He understands being rejected. He loved his church, and they kept telling him, I don't want you. They kept telling him you weren't good enough. They kept using him for the things he gave them and not for who he was. He can relate to my experiences. So seeing that he is right when he says, listen, I took the beating, and what I did was I died so that you could understand that I am giving you an example of what you don't have. People are not giving their life for you. That's true love. They're abandoning you. They're telling you you're not good enough. They're killing you instead of giving their life for you. Let me go do it. Let me go give my life for you. And put myself to feel and be exposed just as you are exposed, and come back in glory so you could understand I got you covered. When I saw that Jesus, that's what made the difference for me. I was like, if you could expose yourself for me, just me, if you could do that for me, and if you could keep coming back to me every time I tell you get away, every time I cuss you out, every time I tell you you weren't there for me, and you keep saying to me, I love you, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I am your father. I am your God. I'm your husband. I'm not going anywhere. I don't care how much you hit me. I am not going anywhere. I cannot help but break my defenses, because that's what love and persistent love does. So the first thing is seeing that he understands everything, and he was shamed so that he could know to sit in that boat with you and tell you when you feel ashamed. He tells you, I get it. He gets it. That's number one. Number two is knowing that now that you know that, and you come to him with your deepest and darkest hurts, you can trust and believe that he's going to cry with you. Because every time you remind him of what was done to you, you're reminding him of what was done to him too.
Whoa.
And the most powerful relationship connection we have is with someone who has been there, done that. So you don't have to use as many words with that person. You know those friends where you can just call and be silent on the phone, and they understand your tears, and they understand the silence, and they'll say, I know.
Even before you say anything, they feel it, they know.
They feel it and they'll text you or they'll call you and they'll say, I know, because it takes a lot of energy to have to repeat the story over and over and over and over again. So I know with Jesus, when I go to him in prayer and I just cry, I don't have to explain anything because he knows and understands. So that's number two. That builds my trust and my faith in him. And the very fact that I haven't died yet, the very fact that I could, unless I tell my story, somebody will not know that I've been through it. The very fact of that he can give me beauty for ashes, and he's actually reversing the years that I keep looking younger and younger. And the very fact that I could still laugh and I could still enjoy life, that alone tells me that he is sustaining my DNA. He is sustaining my life with him. I had better stick with him because this is where my strength is coming from. And so these three things for me, it's really simple. It's really, really simple. See him exposed for you. He died for you. And he took beatings for you. Us women, yes. His private parts were exposed, just like our privacy is exposed. Number two, he's relatable. So when you come to him, he'll cry with you. And when he tells you he understands, he absolutely understands. And then number three, know that he's a trusted friend. He will not go out there and tell your business. He will not expose you. He will not disfellowship you. He will not go tell the church about you. He won't do it. Why? Because he died for you. He has a vested interest in you. So those three things, the gospel is simple. The gospel is so simple. It's just, there's a relatable God who loves you so much that he took your place.
Yes.
And when you come to him, he will always remind you with his scars that I took your place so I could always be in that boat with you. And that's just how simple it is for me.
Oh, just you, please give me just a moment.
Sure. I know I'm gonna cry so bad right now.
Let us ball together.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
Oh
And
my God.
can I just tell you this? I still struggle. I struggle to, my girlfriends, I think they're watching, they'll tell you like just yesterday, all day yesterday, I had suicidal thoughts. All day yesterday. The enemy kept coming and repeating all these things to me. You're not good enough. You're abandoned. Nobody wants you. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I knew that God was with me. So I fought like dear life. I was exhausted yesterday because I was fighting with everything I had to not listen to these voices. But therapy throughout the years have helped me to rewire my mind and to get stronger. I have tools. I have grounding tools. Talking about it helps me out. Knowing that I have the word of God, seeing Jesus in the beauty of who he is and knowing that he's fighting my battles for me has given me the confidence to know that when I end up in a place like that, because it's a journey. It's a 14, I'm 45. It's a journey. And it will be a perpetual journey. I believe when he comes and I get that new body, that's when I probably won't feel the full effects of trauma anymore. But I can't let my life go down the hill because I'm living. I just know I take every day, sometimes every minute, 1 minute at a time, 1 hour at a time, one song at a time, because I've learned that songs are one of my greatest weapons against trauma. Music therapy. So when I get into that mode of praise, and if I don't want to praise, I'll put some soca on. You know what I mean? I'm just being real, so I can move and get it out. Whatever it is, I do it so that I can make it to the next step, knowing he's not judging me. He has given me the tools so that even today I can come on your show and tell people I may look like I have it together, but it is because I don't. But I have a partnership.
Yes.
And if I keep that partnership, you will always see me winning. I will not lose. I will get myself together the day after and come on a show and show who God is, even though the day before I'm under my pillow crying because I felt so depleted. So I don't want your viewers to think that there is this pedestal.
Yes,
I have
yes,
my struggles every
yes.
day. And guess what? Sometimes I go right back to this and read my own words.
Mm-hmm.
So I can
Mm-hmm.
encourage myself.
Yes,
So we're not perfect. And this is a world where the enemy will try to get women like myself to kill ourselves so that there's not a voice of victory for other women. But I have a sisterhood, I have a village around me who know I can be accountable to them, and I can call and say, I'm not doing okay today, and
yes,
they will push me through. So I want women to know you have to be a village to each other. You have to allow yourself to be a safe space for somebody. You cannot judge the other person, and you have to give them time and keep praying over their lives. You have to. We
yes.
can't do it by ourselves. And if a woman doesn't have that network, they are really in danger
Mm-hmm.
of losing their life source, and we need every one of our sisters to survive.
And that and it we I always say it every time I end the show. And this is the mantra. It's the motto of women healing together.
Right,
That's why
exactly.
I founded it, Women Healing Together. And I always say it, and I'll continue to say it, we heal so much better when we do it together.
Exactly.
And there's no doubt about that. Latoya, I don't know. I don't want this conversation to end. You know what I'm saying? Because it has been so inspirational, so real, so true, so
Very
authentic.
real.
I love it. I know. That's why I had to share you with the WAP family. If you want to be in touch with Latoya, if you want a copy of her book, please hold that book up again. Latoya, please hold that book up again. Wonderful. I will
Rescue you.
rescue you. I will, thank you so much. I will rescue you. Please feel free to visit her website at www.latoyawright.com, and you can get a copy of her book. Let us support each other. She also has a YouTube channel, right? And her show is Live Talks with Latoya.
Yeah.
Live Talks, right, with Latoya. You can also find her on IG at live_talks_TV_with Latoya. So that's Live Talks TV with Latoya and underscore after each word.
I had the poem. I don't know if we have time. I had the poem I
Please
wanted
go
to
ahead.
read.
We have
Okay.
just a few more minutes. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Let me read it really quick. And here goes here's the age showing. Okay. So I want to read this poem, and this is part of me just still being very transparent and sharing you with me, sharing me with you. Okay. I hear Madam Maya Angelou speak into my ear. Young woman, you are phenomenal. Yes, you are. Grace overshadows you. Your smile makes the sun dim their light. Your tongue compels branches to wave in praise. Young woman, you are phenomenal. Yes, you are. Love propels you. Your mind captures life and translates it into fascinating truths. Your response to your God creates avenues for others to meet him anew. Young woman, you are phenomenal. Yes, you are. Mercy renews you. You have learned to take the word no and turn it into a well, let me take a crack at it. And when you are done, you have reinvented no into now this. You have taken blunders and redirected its end. You make life's challenges sweet and cause the challenge to weep. Adversity has become your platform. Overcoming has become your track record. Young woman, you are phenomenal. Yes, you are. Forgiveness grounds you. You've learned the secret to true power, and that is to never allow anyone to have control over your mood. You've learned to forgive quickly, to be joyful again quickly. Your enemies reside in a state of confusion and are startled at themselves when they praise God for you unknowingly. You value relationships and fight for them with fury. You've learned the gift of forgiveness the day you had yourself given the gift of forgiveness. Young woman, you are phenomenal. Yes, you are. And finally, Yahweh engulfs you. Fire has refined you. Pruning has endowed you. Repotting has enlarged you. Dying has revived you. Seasons have renewed you. Ugly has revalued you. Lies have calmed you. Hurt has reevaluated you. Illness birthed empathy in you. Waiting has strengthened you. Defeat rose compassion in you. God has empowered you. Young woman, you are phenomenal. Yes, you are. Amen.
Oh,
Amen. I love that
mm.
poem. I
Oh,
love
I
it.
see it. I
Yeah,
see
I love
it.
it. I wrote it and I read it to myself all the time
Mm.
because I needed it when I had written it. So I pray that that has blessed somebody and that you all know, including you, Miss Popsan, that you're phenomenal. You are
Thank you.
phenomenal.
Thank you. And all of the women who are listening, you are phenomenal,
Amen. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Latoya,
Thank you
for
for having
stopping
me.
by, for sharing yourself authentically with us here at Women Healing Together. And as we close off, just want to remind you that on the 21st of April, that's going to be the very last episode of season 2. So you can't afford to miss it. And we're inviting you to come on, Latoya, if you are not speaking or otherwise
Okay.
engaged, to
Sure.
just be with us. Can't afford to miss it. For season 2, if you have been impacted in any way or someone you know, please feel free to shoot us a 30-second video. We'd love to share that with the community on next week. So come prepared to have a wonderful time as we close off season 2. God bless you. And as Latoya shared with us, you can find God in trauma because He never left you. We
Amen.
heal so much better when we heal together.
Yeah.
See you on the 21st.